Hey, what's going on? This is GJ Sports, back again with another pod. Today I have my good friend Reese here, and we're going to talk about everything NFL. We had a great game yesterday between the Arizona Cardinals and the Seattle Seahawks, and we have a great set of games coming up this weekend. But before we get into that, I'd like to tell you to follow us on all of our social pages, DJ Sports Podcast on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. And you can reach us for questions at our email, djsportspod@gmail.com. Hit us up for any questions you have on the email, and we'll answer it on the show. So let's jump into the beer segment. Today, I have a Mother Earth Cali Creamsicle. I think I had the original vanilla ale on the show before, but this is the creamsicle version. It's kind of like an orange hint to this. Reese, have you had this one before?
Yeah, I have. That's one of like the tastiest beers that I've ever had, actually.
Yeah, pretty damn good.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's one of the better beers that I've ever had for sure. That's a San Diego beer, isn't it?
Yeah, Mother Earth.
Yeah, I was gonna say so Mother Earth San Diego. So I guess we kind of copied each other on the San Diego breweries because I got Stone and Modern Times,
Nice.
which are both San Diego breweries, and it's a little collab between the two of them, called Wizards and Gargoyles, and it's a hazy coffee IPA. And I don't know if can you see that?
Yeah, I see
I
like
just
the little towers and the cliffs and stuff.
Yeah, I think you were actually with me when I bought this before.
Oh, okay. Was that one
Because
store you went to?
yeah, just because the label enticed me, but I don't remember drinking it. I don't like. I think I tasted it with my family, and I don't really remember how it tasted and stuff. So I was down to buy it again.
Interesting. That's cool how Stone and Modern Times had like a collab.
Yeah, I had no idea. I had no idea it was really a collab until I bought it. Ooh, ooh. What are you gonna rate yours?
So I am a little biased. This is a beer I've had before, and it's just Mother Earth. Like, I don't know, they just make like really good, flavorful beers. Like I have your uncles from before, and
Oh,
it's just like it's just like complete opposites because this is like such a California beer right here.
yeah. That's kind of what we were talking about the other night. Is like the flavor of West Coast beers versus like these other beers that we're now like being able to try. Like the other ones are a lot more like just straight up like wheat and barley and and not much else to it. But something like that Mother Earth one that you got that Cali Cream in, it's got so much flavor in it. And
Yeah,
even this one, this hazy coffee IPA, has got a lot of flavor in it too.
I would give this like a 7.8.
Oh, 7.8.
Yeah.
Let me write that down. Yeah, I'm gonna give mine 7.6.
Nice. Um, what's the alcohol percentage, by the way?
That's 7%. What about yours?
Okay, nice. Mine's only 5, but yeah, I could imagine if Stone and Modern Times are working together, it's gonna be pretty heavy.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's definitely got a lot. Like I said, it's got a lot of flavor in it. Besides just the coffee that stays in your mouth. It's really good though.
Let's jump
It's
right
good.
into sorry.
No, what were you saying?
I was gonna say let's jump right into the
Oh.
football. So we had a really good game yesterday between the Seahawks and the Cardinals. The Seahawks pulled off the win 28-21. Um, in the first half, it really looked like the Seahawks were going to run away with it. I think they were up like 16-7 at halftime. But the Cardinals had a good second half, made things interesting. But Seattle was able to get the stop on the last drive, sacking Kyler Murray on fourth down to end the game. Reese, another great game between the two NFC West teams. What did you see yesterday?
Yeah, I mean, this one was pretty much everything we expected with the primetime game. We were pretty excited going in, hoping that it would be a good one, and I think it definitely delivered in that aspect. But my pretty much my biggest takeaway was what you already pointed out is that the Cardinals went down big, and it looked like the Seahawks were going to run away with it. And I know, like, even if you want to go back a week with the Bills Cardinals game, it was kind of like the same game script where the Bills take a big lead and then the Cardinals bite back. And I like that because it shows that the Cardinals have a lot of fight, but at the same time, you really don't want to keep putting yourself in those positions, especially late in the season when you guys are going to be tired and stuff like that. You don't really want to be the team that's known for, like, specifically being a second half team and stuff. So I think that's something to watch out with the Cardinals. But other than that, I think this is a big statement win for the Seahawks. Kind of showing that their things might have been a little bit rough recently, but they're not really going to get pushed around.
Yeah, this would have been a huge win for not only the Cardinals, but it would have been a huge statement loss, I guess you can say, for the Seahawks in the sense that they lose 2 games to this Cardinals team. They have the tiebreaker on you. It would have been tough to pass them in the standings. So, a good game of football. And the story coming into the game was about these offenses, and rightfully so, 2 high-powered offenses. But honestly, I think it was the defenses that is something that we should focus on because the Seahawks defense, had a really good game, only 21 points given up, and the Cardinals defense is the reasons that they were even in the game because they slowed the Seahawks offense down. They they stalled so many of the Seattle drives. Russ only had 2 touchdowns, 0 in the second half, and I think he only had like 200 something passing yards. So the Cardinals did a really good job in the second half defensively and really kept them in this ball game. And that was the reason the game was even a 7-point game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I mean, that's a great point. Because even though it was 28 points, it was the 2 field goals on top of that, right? That I think got it that way. 2 field goals and a safety or something like that. That
Yeah,
got it that way. So,
exactly. Yeah. They didn't have a touchdown
um,
second half, though.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, I think that's an incredible point actually, because for both of these teams, if they want to, if you want to bet on them down the stretch, and especially when it comes to December, January football and moving into the playoffs, I mean, you're going to need the guys on the other side of the ball to show up. We know Russell can play, and we know that they've got a lot of options if healthy on that side of the ball. So I don't think that's a big worry, but the defense for the Seahawks is a worry. So I think for both teams, just knowing that when it matters, when a lot's on the line, that side of the ball can show up. I think that's pretty big moving forward, regardless of the result, like even for the Cardinals. So I think it's a big positive for both teams coming out of it,
Yeah. There's definitely, I mean, the Cardinals, lost the game, but I'm sure there's some positives they can take away from it.
Oh yeah, definitely. And even for Kyler, like coming out of a divisional game and losing to a guy like Russell and stuff like that, it's definitely earlier in your career. You should just try to take advantage of situations like that and just learn from them instead of being too down on yourself.
Exactly. So next game we're gonna tackle is the Tennessee Titans against the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens are 6.5-point favorites. So this is a big game for both teams. They're both 6-3, fighting for a playoff spot. For the Titans, they're fighting for a division spot. I think the division is out of reach for Baltimore because the Steelers are still undefeated, so I don't think they're going to catch them. But it's a big game for the Ravens because the Browns are right behind them. They're 6-3 as well, and they have a big game coming up between each other, as well as another game against the Steelers. So the Ravens can't afford to lose any ground. Reese, Ravens are 6-point favorites. Do you think they're going to cover, or how do you think this game's going to go?
Yeah, I understand the line and stuff, but I just think this is going to be too much of a battle for me to like comfortably say that a team wins by a touchdown. For the reasons you already laid out. Like it's almost, you can make cases for both sets of fans. Like if you're a Titan fan coming into this game, you're going to view this game as a must win, especially with they have Indianapolis on the horizon and then Cleveland. So they got 2 playoff teams and 2 teams that they got to beat coming up. So you almost view all of these games as must wins for them. And then when you flip it for the Ravens, they got Tennessee and then Pittsburgh, like you said. So because of those reasons, I just think this is going to be one of those bloodbaths. It's almost a playoff game for both of them. They're going to be going into it with the playoff mentality. So I'm excited for this one. I still think that the Ravens, being the home team, even though there's no crowd and stuff like that, I still think that they're able to pull off a victory. But this one's going to be a fun one. It's one of my games to watch. Like actually, in the middle of Sunday, we got a lot of good like primetime games, but this is one of my favorite games in the actual slate during the day. So I'm excited for this one.
Yeah, this is just two like grinded out football teams, really run heavy. I'm looking for this one too. I think Derrick Henry's gonna have to have a huge game, needless to say. And the Ravens have a good defense, a really good run defense, but they have some injuries on that defensive line. So I think they might be more susceptible to the run on Sunday than in previous games. I'm really curious to see how AJ Brown does as well. He's been up and down, with injuries and stuff, but they just need to find out how to get the ball to him more because I think he only had one catch against the Colts last week. So he's, by far their best receiver, and they really need to figure out how Tannehill can get the ball to him.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see who shows up on both sides. Like even with Lamar struggling a little bit this year, or just not really being the MVP caliber Lamar that we were used to seeing. It's going to be interesting to see if we can pull him out of the hat, and like you said, to see on Tennessee, see if Derrick Henry can have a big performance, if Ryan Tannehill is going to show up, and if that's going to result in a big AJ Brown game. So yeah, I'm excited to see on either team which guy really comes out to play and shows that they want this, because that could be the factor in them playing in January and February or not. So
Mm-hmm. So the Falcons are taking on the Saints, where the Saints are a 3.5 point underdog at home. So this game, so many storylines. I don't even know where to start. You have this Atlanta Falcons team. They've had so many terrible losses this season, um, but they're sitting at 3-6. And ever since they fired Dan Quinn, they've been playing a lot better. They've won 3 of their last 4. If they're somehow able to beat the Saints, they'll be 4-6, and honestly, the playoffs wouldn't be out of question as like a 4-6 team. I mean, I don't think it's impossible. So, aside from your regular division game, this this game has a lot of implications, especially because the Saints are fighting for the division and a playoff seed. But the big storyline, the big news that we heard today is that Sean Payton is going with Taysom Hill as a starting quarterback over Jameis Winston, which was shocking news to everyone in the NFL. But yeah, Reese, what are your thoughts from that news?
yeah, I mean, I guess my biggest question when I heard the news is who's really making that decision? Is that a Sean Payton football decision, or is that a front office? We got to see what we got with Taysom Hill decision, because I mean they're paying Taysom Hill a lot of money, and they've been paying Taysom Hill a lot of money to have a quarterback on the books. We've heard the quotes of him being, well, we think it was about him being the heir apparent in the building and stuff. So I think at the end of the day, it's probably a smart move. You got to see what you got with Taysom Hill, but for this individual game, I mean, I would have personally gone with Jameis. I think Jameis fits the offense better, and he fits the whole style of play better, which is why this was so shocking to everybody. I think it just made a lot more sense for him to slide in and just try to not throw 4 interceptions, and they probably walk away with a win. But I don't know. This Taysom Hill thing makes things really interesting just because nobody really knows what to expect now. And that's probably exactly why they went with that move, right?
Yeah, I would have went with Jameis too. I can see why they would want to experiment and just see what would they have at quarterback with Taysom, but I don't know if this is the game. You have a big game against the Falcons, a team that usually gives you a tough time anyway. It's such a massive game where
And they're playing so hot right now too, like you said.
Mhm. Yeah, the defense has been playing a lot better. Ironically, since they fired their defensive head coach,
Yeah,
Dan
exactly.
Quinn. But yeah, like you said, you just needed Jameis to really just make the short throws, not throw any picks, and you're probably going to walk away with the victory against a lesser team. Um, but now you're throwing out Taysom Hill, who's, you know, is a wild card. We have no idea, what he's going to look like. And like, if you're the Falcons, do you think they did any research on Taysom Hill this week, being the quarterback, or do you think they were just preparing for Jameis?
Well, that's the thing is that even if you do like if Jameis is the quarterback, yeah, it's a lot easier to prepare for this team because you have a lot of tape on Jameis as an individual quarterback, and then you have a lot of tape of Drew Brees running this offense, and you can probably guess that it's going to look somewhat similar. But that's the thing with Taysom Hill is that even if they wanted to look at tape of his, like what would they really look at of him as a quarterback? Because that's what we haven't seen. We like everyone wants to jump to conclusions of that he's not worth the money, that he's not going to last as a quarterback in the NFL. But like, truth of the matter is that we don't really have a true sample size of him as a quarterback, of him dropping back and reading defenses and going through progressions and throwing that football. We don't know if he's going to be accurate. We don't know if he's going to have that spark. We really don't know. And I don't know if the Saints really know either. And that's probably the whole reason behind it. It keeps the other side of it keeps the Falcons guessing, and then it also helps them learn something long term. But my question is like, if New Orleans might think that this Drew Brees injury is a little bit might be a little bit more serious than we know, and he might be out for longer than we know. So long term, is Jameis a better option than Taysom Hill? Because I'm not like for one game, I would say, hey, throw Jameis in there, don't let him mess up, and we're good to go. But like if for 4 or 5 games, is Jameis Winston really the answer for them?
Yeah, I mean that's a good question. It's kind of just like I don't know because we haven't seen Jameis really, play any meaningful football this year. So I have no idea how he's going to fit in that offense, in that system. So he could be the answer for the rest of the year. But yeah, I'd have to see him play. See like how does he target Michael Thomas and Jared Cook and all the other guys, and how does Sean Payton make it work with Jameis? I think
Yeah.
we just don't know yet.
I think it's almost safer. I just pulled up the Saints schedule, and they have the Broncos next week. So I almost feel like it's safer to play out this Taysom Hill saga and see what you got with him this week. And dude, if he shits the bed and you guys have a loss, okay. Next week you start over with Jameis Winston. You do exactly what everybody wanted you to do, and you kind of have your situation for a little bit. But if Jameis fails at that point, then you're really screwed, you know. Whereas if you flip it the other way and like I don't know if you want to not necessarily like back yourself into a corner, but you got Atlanta Falcons right after that again. So you got Falcons, Broncos, Falcons, and you're almost throwing yourself into like a 3-loss situation with your backup quarterbacks if you screw this up. So I feel like just figuring out what they have with Taysom Hill, and I mean, dude, Jameis could be the starting quarterback by the third quarter of this game. We don't even know. But I do like the idea of them, like, at least just figuring out what the hell they have with Taysom Hill and everybody else figuring out what the hell we have with Taysom Hill.
Hmm. There's definitely a chance where we see Jameis come in the second, third quarter. That's
Mhm.
definitely a possibility, and it could go the other way too. Like we could see Taysom Hill coming in for Jameis.
Per- Personally, I hope, like, just for the excitement of it all, I hope Taysom does well. You know, like, nothing against Jameis and stuff like that, but I just hope he has a good game and he kind of proves some doubters wrong and stuff. And I still hope Jameis gets a chance too, because that guy's still got talent.
Going back to your earlier question where you said if it's a Sean Payton decision or a front office,
Mm-hmm.
my guess would be Sean Payton because I think the front office trusts him that much. He's been around for so long, and like Sean Payton seems to really like putting this guy on the field. Whether it's special teams, you know, uh, tackling the returner or just throwing him like in wildcat or having him throw passes. So Sean Payton always like runs plays for him, like much to the chagrin of fantasy owners who have Breeze or Kamara.
Yeah.
So yeah, I believe it was a Sean Payton decision, but I obviously don't know for sure.
Yeah. No, I mean, I would probably say the same thing. And I think it almost like confirms that quote was definitely about Taysom Hill because I think some people still question Teddy Bridgewater was in the building at the time, but they weren't willing to, hand him the starting role, so he left and went to Carolina. So I think this almost kind of confirms that Sean Payton has an immense amount of trust in this guy, and when the time comes, he'll turn to him clearly.
Yeah. So the next game we have is the Green Bay Packers going into Indianapolis against the Indianapolis Colts, where the Colts are a 2-point favorite. This is a good game between two really good teams. Packers 7-2, Colts are 6-3. A good offense against a good defense. Reese, this one, I feel like it's gonna be a close game, but who do you have?
Yeah, I mean, even Vegas is kind of right there with us, where they don't even want to like show which way they're going with it. This one's tough for me because both of these teams have been so up and down this year, and you can make a case going either way with both of these teams. That they're playoff contenders or they're or they're complete frauds this season. They've had their fair share of performances on either side of the ball. So because of that reason, I just don't know who the heck's going to show up. But when that happens, I just always trust the better quarterback, and I'm always going to go with Aaron Rodgers like 9 times out of 10. So I have the Packers in this game, but this is going to be a fun one too. It's in the 1:00 game, so hopefully a lot more people can watch this one and like really watch both teams and figure out more about them, because I think there's a lot of questions to be answered on both sides of the ball for both teams, because that Green Bay defense has a lot of questions to answer. So I got the Packers, but I don't know, man. Both of these teams have a lot to prove in this one, I think.
Yeah, I have the Packers too, but
Well, of course you have the Packers there.
not by honestly. I think having Devontae play is just, really takes him over the top, and that's just how close these teams are, in my opinion. And I think they barely squeak it out with another good game from Aaron Jones because they're gonna need it against a good defense.
Yeah, like this game almost has like skill players written all over it. But yeah, that Indianapolis defense, I know I've said that they have questions on both sides of the ball, but that almost might be like the Indianapolis defense. Like, I don't know. I'm not positive if they've had a game where I've really been like, oh crap, like there's some hole, like I know there's been injuries on the Green Bay side of the ball, on the offensive side of the ball for Green Bay, but they've definitely had times this year where I've still, not Aaron Rodgers, but I still questioned that offense and stuff. And the brilliance of Aaron Rodgers is kind of the only thing that's really kept me so like gung ho about this Packers team this year. I had them as, after week 3, I was calling them Super Bowl favorites. So um, I don't know. I'm nervous about this defense, this Indianapolis defense. Like I said, showing up and proving that they're one of the top defenses this year. This is right around the time of the season when we really figure out who's really here to contend and not. And yeah, I think that defense could show up and could really prove something. But hopefully I'm wrong, because I'm definitely rooting for A-Rod.
So the Sunday night game, we have an AFC West divisional matchup. The Kansas City Chiefs against the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders pulled off the upset a couple of weeks ago, beating Kansas City in Kansas City. But this weekend, the Chiefs are 8.5-point favorites with the 57 total over under. So, Reese, this is your division. Do you think the Raiders have any chance of pulling off the upset again?
I mean, I think it'd be disrespectful to say that they don't have a chance, especially after that first meeting between the two and how good a football that the Raiders are playing. If they're going to win this game, I think it's going to be more of the Chiefs losing this game, maybe not of their own accord, but it's going to be, turnovers, something like that, like Raiders winning the turnover game, something along those lines where who knows if that'll be Pat Mahomes' fault, but I don't know, man. I just don't see Oakland being able to pull out 2 wins against the Chiefs this year. Like I know things have been a little crazy this year and stuff like that, but I just don't see the Chiefs dropping 2 games to anyone in that division. So
Uh,
because of that reason, I'm definitely going with the Raiders, but you got to give the Chiefs, but you got to give the Raiders their respect for sure.
yeah, I mean, even last year with John Gruden, they've been playing some really good football. 6-3 right now, really fighting for a playoff spot. If the Raiders were to win this game, though, they're sitting at 7-3. The Chiefs are 8-2, only 1 game behind them in the division. That would make things really interesting down the stretch.
Yep, 100%. But then going the opposite way, you can almost lock up the division for the Chiefs, and you get your first 2 seeds locked up in the AFC if they win this game. So
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be fun, and we got in prime time, so
Prime time.
I'm really excited for this. And yeah, like you said, dude, the Raiders been playing good football for 2 years now. Like last year, they didn't have the success to show for it, but they're playing really good football, just like the Dolphins were. So man, if they were able to beat the Chiefs 2 times in one season, that would be quite the statement.
Yeah, let's get to Monday Night Football. You got the LA Rams against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Buccaneers are 4-point favorites at home. This is a team with two good. This is a game with two good defenses. The total is 48.5. I think it's gonna be another close game. Who do you think's got this, Reese?
I don't really know. I don't really know which way to go with this because, like, originally I want to go with the Rams. The Rams are definitely like my team in this one for sure, but with the Bucks defense and with Tom Brady and with this being a big game and stuff like that, it's like if I had to put my money where my mouth was, I don't know if I would like stick with that. But I think you got to highlight the fact that in terms of these two teams, like the Rams are definitely the hotter of the two teams, and the defense especially is, in my opinion, I know everyone wants to make a big fuss about the Bucks defense this year, but I think the Rams defense has been absolutely lights out. And you still got one of the best, well, in my opinion, the best player on the defensive side of the ball on Aaron Donald. So I don't know, man. I still like the Rams in this one, but you never really want to bet against the GOAT. So, and I already know who you're going with, so I almost don't want to like throw that question back at you. but let me hear your unbiased analysis anyway.
Yeah, I mean it's hard for me not to go with my team, especially after a great performance against Seattle. I just think that the offensive line for the Bucks, they struggle at times, and Brady, he's 43 years old, not really mobile, never has been mobile in his career. So if Aaron Donald can get in his face, as with the rest of the defensive line, I think it's going to be a rough night for Brady. But on the flip side, Jared Goff obviously has to step up against a very good defense. I would like us to get the running game going, but they also have a really good run D too. So it's going to be up to the receiving core: Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, Josh Reynolds. He's stepped up in recent weeks. He's been really really good. But I think we can pull out a win in a really close game like 24-21.
Yeah. I'm hoping Sean McVay comes up with something special here because I mean coming off the right, they're coming off the bye week, correct?
We played Seattle last week. The bye week was the week before that.
Yeah, I was gonna say the bye week was right before that because I was thinking that they're coming off a bye week, and I was like, hey man, that would mean everything for Sean McVay. Just show that he's got it if he can come out and just have a little bit of a masterclass and show them up. But yeah, I mean, this one's definitely going to be fun.
Sorry, got a little something over there. All right, so we have this new segment called In and Out, where I'm gonna ask if you're in or out. Pretty simple. The New England Patriots have been hot recently. Their schedule has been pretty easy, but they've won their last 2 games. Are you in or out on the Patriots making the playoffs?
I mean, I want to say that I'm in on them just for the sake of the conversation because I'm not done on this team's season. But when I actually look at it logically and mathematically, which is never fun to do in these conversations, I'm out for sure because I don't see them catching anybody in that AFC playoff picture, especially with the schedules that they have. I think that they would pretty much need to catch Tua and the Dolphins, and I just don't see that happening, especially with the two of them meeting up later in the year. They would pretty much have to win that game as well as a couple other things going in the Patriots' favor. So I'm out on them making the playoffs, but I'm in on them being that bracket buster that we always talk about. Them ruining the show for some other teams and being a team that's competitive enough to really, really try, but not good enough to actually make the playoffs. So they'll just ruin somebody else's season.
Okay. Are you in or out on the Steelers being the Chiefs in the playoffs?
Ooh, you know what? I'm actually kind of in on this year. I'm not crazy high on the Steelers themselves, but this year with their defense, and I mean, this is 2 years running. Last year they had a pretty good defense, and everyone was kind of talking about it, especially with the draft picks. But this year we're kind of seeing how effective they can be, and on the other side, the Chiefs are kind of showing that they have holes in that offense, and maybe Patrick Mahomes can be human, and maybe that Patrick Mahomes-Andy Reid combination can be human. So, yeah, I like the Steelers this year just on the fact that they got the momentum, and it's just kind of their time type of thing. It's hard to repeat in the NFL. So
It is. It's very hard. I don't think it's happened since the Patriots did it 15, 17 years ago.
yeah, and even I mean, we definitely don't have it in front of us, but even just to get there again 2 years in a row, that alone is tough. And how many times that has happened in the last 20 years with a quarterback not named Tom Brady? It's I mean, I guess the counter argument to that would be that Patrick Mahomes is the next face of the NFL, and he's the next GOAT and stuff. So, but yeah, I don't see it happening just yet.
So, are you in or out on the Vikings being a sleeper team for the playoffs? They've won 3 in a row. All 3 wins coming after Dalvin Cook came back from his injury. Dalvin has averaged, or not average, but he has 1,143 total yards, 13 touchdowns this season.
Yeah, I mean it's a fun story for sure. I'm in on them being in the playoff picture pretty much until the end. I don't know if week 17 they're going to be fighting for a playoff spot and stuff, but you throw me into a corner with these questions, Steph. Because I want to say I don't want to go full on in because no, I don't think that they're going to make the playoffs, but I definitely think that they're going to make noise and they're going to be right there for it. They have a decent schedule coming up. Teams like the Jaguars and the Cowboys and the Giants, Bengals, stuff like that. So they definitely have a schedule that can figure it out, but I'm just not buying in on this. This isn't a Vikings team with a good defense. And yeah, they still got Dalvin Cook, but Kirk Cousins isn't playing out of his mind. I haven't bought into this team yet. Have you?
You know, like you said, yeah, their defense is actually bad this year.
Yeah.
I just think that
Well,
they really do have a chance, in my opinion, just because Justin Jefferson is playing so well, and I mean, Dalvin is just having a ridiculous season. But according to some people in our group chat, Alexander Madison will be putting up the same numbers, right?
okay. All right. Honestly, to defend the people in that group message, I don't know. I don't think anybody can put their money where their mouth is if they're going to say Alexander Madison can put up the same numbers. But in an offense like that, yeah, I think Alexander Madison can produce well enough to be what 4-5 as they are right now. So,
They were 1-5, and then Dalvin came back and they won three straight, where he's averaging like 100 and something yards a game.
do you think Dalvin was more of a factor? Okay, like I know Dalvin has rushed for those yards, but has Dalvin been more of a factor in that going the way it did, or someone like Justin Jefferson?
I mean, it's probably been both. I think that's the right answer. Like Justin Jefferson's been so good; he has like 700 yards this year. It's just like Dalvin. He like okay, the game against the Packers, he had I think 200 yards, four touchdowns, including two long touchdowns. Against the Lions, he had like a 70-yard touchdown. Just like that game-breaking ability, it really changes the entire game, the complexion of your football games, when you have someone like that.
And he's someone that like most defenses can't really prepare for. So this isn't a Stephon Diggs on the other side of the ball where it's a Diggs Thielen combination that in an offense that they've been able to prepare for. Like this is a little bit of something new for other teams to have to prepare for, right?
Yeah, I would say so. It'll be interesting to see though if they can fight for a playoff spot because their schedule does get a lot easier coming
Yeah,
down the stretch.
yeah. I think as good as Dalvin Cook has been this year and as valuable as he's been to this team, other skilled players being able to open up, like I think someone like Justin Jefferson being able to open up the offense for an incredible like MVP caliber player like Dalvin Cook take advantage of. I think that's so key, and that's key for any other team. Like if you're looking at a team like the Browns, it's the rush game of Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt that's going to open up the pathway for a Baker Mayfield Odell Beckham combination to actually work, right? And
Mhm.
that's what we're kind of seeing this year. So yeah, I mean for that exact reason, like you said, I'm still in on this team, but I don't want to like rush in on them making the playoffs, especially with how good I think the NFC is this year.
So, kind of in that same vein, we're gonna do a something or nothing, just one of them. Is there something or nothing to Alvin Kamara? Hypothetically, I say hypothetically, being in the MVP race because running backs like you're basically never gonna win MVP being a running back. Adrian Peterson did it that one year, but that was just a ridiculous year, which I think we're not gonna see anytime soon. So he has 1,134 total yards, 11 touchdowns. The Saints are 7-3. Is there something or nothing to that, Reese?
I mean, I think you definitely have to say that there was something to it, especially with the stat line you went out, you threw out there. Can you look up Adrian Peterson's numbers
That MVP
during during his MVP season? Because that's my whole thing with Alvin Kamara. It's like this is a guy that since he's been in the NFL, we know that he's going to put up the stats, and we know that he's going to be able to accumulate the yards and the touchdowns, especially in the offense that he's in. But I think at the end of the day, it just comes down to where his team's at, especially with a running back. Like if a running back, especially with Adrian Peterson, like if somebody like that is leading a bad team to a lot of victories that they probably shouldn't have, then hell yeah, I have no problem with giving them the MVP. But like, and even with an Alvin Kamara this year, with the stats that he's throwing up, throw him in the race. Like, let him get the points and stuff like that. Let him get the votes. But no, I don't think that this is a season where somebody should die on a hill saying that Alvin Kamara should be the MVP this year over, other players who I think deserve it a little bit more.
So that MVP season for Adrian Peterson, he had 2,214 yards and 14 total touchdowns, 13 total touchdowns.
13 total touchdowns.
Yeah.
So Allen's going to blow him out of the water in terms of the touchdowns, but it's the yards that he's got to. Is he on track to crash the yards too?
I don't think so because, well, the Saints have played what, 9 games now, 10 games.
Yeah. You said how many yards did Adrian Peterson get that year?
2,214. So
2,214, and right now Alvin Kamara after 9 games is at 1,134. So
9 games or 10 games?
I think it's
7-3.
Yeah.
So yeah, Kamara's like a little like over halfway from that. With what, 7 games left. So
yeah, I mean it's going to be
yeah. So,
yeah it's going to be tough for Alvin to break that. Oh my God, I don't know. That's actually really interesting when you really like compare the 2 seasons of when AP won it and what Alvin's doing right now. I think in our little document that we have, you put the quotation marks about him hypothetically being in the MVP race, and I think because of the stats, because of everything he's doing, I think that deserves to go away. It's like this guy deserves to be talked about on stupid little podcasts like our own. Like we deserve to be talking about this guy being in the MVP race. But again, I don't need anybody arguing with their friends, like screaming at them dying on a hill that Alvin Kamara should be MVP this season.
and for what it's worth, the Vikings were 10-6 that year, so you can safely assume that the Saints are gonna have a better record than 10-6.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just speaks to like what an insane season Kamara's having, and not gonna name any names, but like in the group chat, people have said that I really just don't think Latavius would be putting up these numbers.
Oh, I mean that is see the whole like running backs don't matter conversation can only go so far. And I think we're seeing a season with Alvin Kamara, one that like directly like contradicts this whole thing, because with certain guys, with certain players, and Alvin Kamara, like this kind of season is the reason that players at his position get paid so much money, because we're seeing how much this does matter. But is he going to do this for 4 to 5 years for as many, like they're going to pay him top money to perform like this for 5 seasons, and he's just not going to do that. So I get the conversation of GMs and the business people in football not wanting to pay these guys, but they deserve the money, like they're putting up these numbers and they deserve the money. So
yeah, and I can't blame running backs for trying to get the money as soon as possible, because I think they have the shortest careers of any football players. And I think football players in general only have like 3 or 4 year average careers. So it's kind of like just a situation where they're going to try to get their money as soon as possible, as quick as possible, because they know, there's another running back waiting, in the draft that is looking to take their job. So it's just kind of like I see both sides basically.
Yeah. And even with Alvin, like this is a guy that, kind of snuck through the drafts, and even when he was drafted and he was on an NFL team, no one really like respected him. So I think that just kind of goes to show, like, with these skill positions and with these skill players, like how susceptible they are to break out. And I mean, yeah, you could pay your top guy all this load of money, but there might be that guy in the shadows at all times on any team, no matter who you are, who could be the next top guy. So, and I think more often than not, the business guys are willing to take that chance. So, but pay Alvin.
Pay Alvin. That's the moral of the story.
Yeah.
So let's do a quick fantasy check-in before we wrap things up. Reese, do you want to start us off?
Oh, shoot. Wait, do you have yours ready? Because if you have yours ready, no. But if you don't have yours ready, I'm ready to go.
Okay, I could go.
Okay.
So my team is in shambles in our in our league of record. I'm currently 3-7, sitting at 11th place out of 12 teams, 5-game losing streak. So yeah, not good on this side over here. I have a huge matchup against our friend Sachin, who's in 8th place. I basically have to win this week. We have 3 games left, and if I have any chance for the playoffs, I have to win. So the player that I hate, we're going back to last week. I hate the entire New Orleans Saints because Drew Brees, not his fault. He got hurt, but he left with 7 points, 6.9 points at halftime.
You're gonna hate on the guy who got a punctured lung?
I can't. I'm hating the whole team.
Okay, all right. Sorry.
Because I have Jared Cook at tight end, who got me a whopping 0. I had as many fantasy points as Jared Cook did last week.
Hey, congrats, bro. I'm proud of you.
And not only that, I put up 62 points, and I lost to the last place team, Kevin Beyond. Gave him his second win of the season in a game that I needed. So, yeah, safe to say my team is in absolute shambles.
Shambles, bro. Shambles. I'm sorry to hear about that, by the way.
I don't even have a player I love because no one deserved it last week. My highest score had 12 points.
Well, who had the 12 points? At least give him some love.
Chris Godwin had 12 points, 92 yards.
So reluctantly, Chris Godwin.
Yeah. It's
okay.
all right.
It's okay, dude. You'll get through it. Luckily for you, the playoffs are still in reach. So 3-7, but you're not out of reach of a 12-team league that has an 18 playoff. So you still have a chance.
Yeah, and I am playing Ronak next week, who is at 9th place. So
yeah,
got to win some games.
That's a battle. That's a guy that you gotta get over in the record column. So.
Yep.
So, for me, I guess going back to week 10 fantasy. The player I hate is actually going to have to be myself, Rees Bolbrett, the manager, because I had the stupidest move this week where I decided to bench. I was like really, really fluctuating between starting Nyheim Hines. I decided to bench him on Wednesday. And if you remember, on Thursday night, he went off for 26 points. So that decision just bit me in the ass right away. And I was like, dude, like, fuck it. Like, this will come back and, like, turn around for me, right? Nope. Travis Fulgham, the guy that I started over him, got me a whopping 1.3 points.
Oof.
1.3 dev. So that was a 25. Wait, what was that?
More than Jared Cook.
Yeah, okay, well, it was more than Jared Cook, but that was a 25-point swing in a matchup that I lost by 18 points. So that was a pretty rough decision. And I lost to a guy in our league, Kevin, who you know, but our followers might not know.
Kevin Lee.
But I can just say that his team name is Golden Taint. So that's just,
for our listeners, let's just say he's just not a guy you want to lose to.
not a guy that you ever want to lose to, especially with the name Golden Taint. So yeah, that was a rough decision for me. I hate myself, and I don't love anybody.
Reese, how do you feel about your just chances rest of the season?
You know what? Long term, fantasy football. The way I like to look at it is that fantasy football is a week-by-week league. You know, like nobody gives a shit what you do in week 1 when you're sitting there in week 14 of the fantasy football playoffs. Nobody cares if you beat somebody 100, if you put up 200 points in your league, because it matters what you're doing at that time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But my team's pretty bad in this league. But I've somehow managed to take over second place. So I'm feeling pretty good. But long term, I'm feeling like I just got to be optimistic, and I just got to hope that these last 10 weeks have just been a good show of what's going to happen. Everyone who plays me is just going to shit the bed. So
Yeah, I mean, wins are wins, and I wish I had some more right now because I need them. I can tell you that.
yeah, you texted me right before saying that that you knew your team was going to shit the bed, and sure enough, they put up like 98 points that week. So
Yeah. I don't even think I put up 98. I think I put up like 7.
yeah, I think I put up 98 in the win.
So I think I played you week 9. So literally the week before. Yeah, I put up 73 points. You put 105 up. So it's been 2 very bad weeks for your boy over here. But yeah, let's hope things can change. Let's hope that something switches in our favor. I don't think I have Derrick Henry and Aaron Jones. It's like two of the best running backs in the league. It's a good combo to have, but I don't think they've scored a touchdown in the last 3 weeks. So I'm really hoping for something this week. Really hoping.
Hey, I'm praying for you, bro. I'd like to see you in the playoffs over some of these guys. So
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. I just I just want to point out something just interesting. So I'm in 3 leagues, right? I I think Reese, you'll find this interesting. I'm in
yeah,
3 leagues. I had to pick up Big Ben. Someone dropped him on the waivers, thankfully, because Drew Brees was hurt, so I needed a quarterback. He's playing against the Jaguars this week, so I am starting Big Ben. The person I'm playing against, Sachin, has Chase Claypool, and in my other 2 leagues, I'm playing against Big Ben. And our friend Will Honda, who I'm playing against in the other league, he's a big Steelers fan. So not only is he starting Big Ben, he's starting Deontay Johnson and the Steelers defense. And in that league, I have Chase Claypool. And then let's go to my third league. He's starting Big Ben and he's starting James Conner. So there's a lot going on from that Steelers Jaguars game, and
bro, you're all in on that Steelers game this weekend.
yeah, I'm honestly a little concerned because they're playing the Jaguars. So I don't know.
That's
It's either gonna be a horrible game for me or a great game for me. There's no in between.
let's hope the Jags don't show up like they did against the Packers last weekend. So
Mhm. I want Big Ben to have a good game, but not too good.
I was gonna say, pick and choose your battles on Sunday.
Well, honestly, in our league, I think that's the league I need to win the most. So we'll see.
Like I said, pick and choose your battles.
All right, Reese. You have anything to say about fantasy before we wrap this up?
No, man, coming for the title, coming for my second ring.
Second ring. All right. I'd like to thank you guys for listening. Remember, you can follow DJ Sports on all of our social pages. DJ Sports Podcast on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. Reach us for questions at djsportspod@gmail.com. Reese, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, Dad. Appreciate it, man. Always a good time.
Of course. Take care, and we'll have a recap episode pretty soon, the next couple of days. So be on the lookout for that. Everybody have a good weekend and enjoy the games.